the Arkavati Basin, the Pollution Control Board measures about 48 locations we have figured out via RTI in the last 2 years, as a matter of fact. So Pollution Control Board offices are, the zoning is very different. So I think there are about 5-6 Pollution Control Board zones that fall into the Arkavati Basin. And we go to each of those zones and we ask to inspect the water quality files, and we painstakingly find out which locations they're monitoring. Then we list them all on the map. And then we are in the process of submitting a lot of RTIs, and we've got responses for a lot of locations data we have currently with us. So we are collecting their water quality data from 2018 to 2022, and also asking for 2012 water quality data as a reference point to see how the water quality has degraded. So as the RTIs have started coming in, so when we say the RTIs have started coming in, we are saying that these are physical copies of the water quality. This is not an Excel. So then we have to painstakingly take those thousands and thousands of pages and put it into an Excel, then create graphs and draw the insights. So initially, as the water quality data is coming in, we are seeing that in the key locations, the government fails to record the key parameters necessary to establish pollution, right? And we are also shocked by the quality of heavy metals that has historically been stored in the river silt or sludge that we are looking at. So we intend to do that sort of an analysis for all the 48 locations, river locations in the Arkavati Basin, and release a report perhaps end of this year or early next year. So that's one water quality of Arkavati Basin. And we're also looking at Central Pollution Control Board water data. So this is us bringing the government data to the public, and we'll be able to say, as Rahulji was pointing out, there is no oxygen. So which are the locations there is no oxygen, and for how long have they been like that? And what is the government action to improve the oxygen in those places? And then what is the chemical burden in those locations is also something that we're trying to establish. And most importantly, 2020 lockdown water quality. What does that look before the lockdown? What does that look after the lockdown? Also will be the analysis that we'll be able to bring out for the whole of Arkavati Basin for the first time. So again, all of this data is coming out for the first time. That is with regards to the water quality. And additionally, we have signed an MOU with RVCE, and we are in discussion with another organization whose name I cannot say, from Chennai, to actually identify as a baseline lithium in the water, because now we have a lot of electric vehicles with lithium ion batteries, and they are going to be disposed, we know where, on the scrapping is going to happen next to the river basins, next to the lakes. So we want to be able to, get baselines for lithium now. We want to be able to get baselines for other pharmaceutical components. This is not the research that is happening currently. So we are hoping that this is some kind of an MOU and project that we can work out of Chennai. And we're doing the same thing in Anekal. We're actually asking them, what is the kind of lab equipment that you have to test for active pharmaceutical components in Anekal. And we're also working with them to kind of say, can we establish the flow of these streams, flow of these rivers, which is a government data that does not exist today. And then coming to the river flows itself, we have already collected the river flow data from 3 different organizations. BWSSB, which measures in terms of Esargata on Arkavati, Kaveri Niravari Nigama, in terms of Manchinabele Dam and Arkavati Dam down in Kanakpura, and also Central Water Commission. So we've gotten all the river flow data, and since the dam was built, so we are going to be able to do an analysis in terms of both river flows and dam inflows, and connect that with rainfall, both IMT graded data and also from chirps. So we will be able to say by the end of this year, early next year, actually look at water security for Arkavati River Basin by looking at government data, right? And another thing we have also realized, there is a big government data has been put up on the website. There's a transparency that the government is doing. Unfortunately, what we are seeing is that the data that matters is not in the public domain. Right. So that is what we are getting via RTI. And we are running around from one office to another, from table to table, because, much of the data is classified because of the Kaveri Water Tribunal. There is a notification that we cannot give you the data. And then when we went to collect the sewage, utilization of sewage treatment plants in the Arkavati Basin. So we are establishing that as well. They're like asking us to sit down and say, please don't share this data with anybody. So we have been jumping hoops with this. And additionally, in some cases, Pollution Control Board has been taking thousands and thousands of money, saying we are not going to give you a soft copy. Here is the hard copy. We are like, these are tens and thousands of pages. We cannot be paying for it. So this is all of these going. So that is what it takes to bring out the data into the public domain and build a river basin level narrative, which is what I would think ACIWRM, which is a World Bank funded project that has, I think, hundreds of millions of dollars pouring into it since 2011, and they're working in the Krishna Basin, but none of this data has been brought out by them into the public domain. So that's something that we are doing, and we're going to bring out the context. It's not only bringing the data into the public domain, and bring out the context and what is the right question for the citizens to ask the government. I think that is where much of our analysis and discussion is. How does this data translate to a question for the government to ask the decision makers at a very high local level, but also at a higher catchment level?